All right, so we're switching things up today. So what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of We Got Next. There's so much that we're going to end up talking about. The first thing we're going to do, of course, is the usual housekeeping notes. One, make sure to listen to the spaces I do on Mondays. Another thing is I just finished recording the overview and recap of what the games were over the weekend. So that should come out tomorrow for everybody just to listen to that. Then later in the week, I'll dive deeper into position battles that I'm looking into, and then also the sports betting component of it. Kind of going into the hot takes. I personally didn't know this at first, Steven. I don't know if you knew it, but yesterday was the anniversary of Kobe's 81 points.
I only knew that when I got when I saw that Embiid had 63 or something like that. And I turned on the game and they said it. Which I'm surprised I didn't see it more on social media. But then they said it. And yeah, that was cool. I mean, Embiid had a good game and they won, unlike someone else who got 60 and was trying to stat pad and didn't work out that well. And they lost to the Hornets.
So that's the big thing that I wanted to bring up for two different things. One, I thought it was the funniest thing ever when they said Joel Embiid dropped 70, so Jaylen Brown had to go drop 77.
Yeah, I saw
And,
that. Saw that. Put Luke on his
and
butt.
if you don't know sports, you probably were confused, but that's Luka's number. But that was the thing I wanted to bring up. So the hot take we have for today is Embiid had 70 and Karl-Anthony Towns had 65. And I text you, they did it in two different ways. Karl-Anthony Towns had a good amount of threes, but he also, the numbers don't show what he was really doing. He was doing it foolishly, and that's why they benched him towards the end of the game. My man, like some of the shots he took, and I said this to someone, if he would have passed, they would have won. But he wanted to just like stat pad and get to 70, whereas Joel Embiid, he only had 1 3. He only made 1 3. He was like 1 for 2. It was all in the middle or like those elbow jump shots. And then everyone else was able to eat two. But you know damn well every single time you go up against Victor Wembanyama as a big man, you're
Right.
like, we're taking him to town.
Right.
It's kind of like the small forwards back in the day when LeBron first came out. They said, we're taking him to town.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only time they're going to be able to, because if you let Wemby become what we all think he can be, you're not going to be able to do this.
He'll approach
Like,
70 at some point, probably. Then,
exactly. Because I remember you probably saw this when Kelly Oubre had to guard Victor Wembanyama. My man was
like, yeah. And then I saw someone else tweet, like, Embiid's 7 feet tall.
yes,
But it's like, you know that other dude's tall when you are 7 feet tall and you
yes,
find someone bigger than you.
yes,
That's why how
and
Shaq felt when Yao Ming came in the league. Like,
absolutely,
damn, dude, really?
yeah. And then
And
it's
Yao
different.
Ming towers over Shaq. Towers.
Yes, yeah. And it's one of those things that Victor is a skinny 7'5", 7'6". So it makes you look even taller. Whereas Joel Embiid, he's been in the league a minute, so he started to bulk up. But even Victor
290.
Wembanyama, huh?
He's like 290, isn't he? Something like that.
Yeah. Victor Wembanyama was 10 for 19, 2 for 5 from three. He wasn't terrible.
No,
So
but like no
over
one's gonna. I mean, obviously, no one's gonna remember that, right?
Nope, because the other one went so much better. And yeah, so Joel Embiid had 70, but also Tyrese Maxey had 18. If you were to look up the stats for the Timberwolves, you would notice that Anthony Edwards barely had points last game. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the main thing over there. We'll dive in. I have a bunch of things that we'll talk about in the NBA, but the other thing I wanted to bring up, I just saw before we got on, Jair Alexander apparently put up a farewell message, and they're like, we don't know if he's leaving. Listen, if y'all didn't think anything when he said, I'm about to make the coin toss decision on my own and go out there with the captains,
Deuces guy.
yeah, you're not, you do certain things. And one of the fun podcasts, I'll tell at the end, of course, but Jeff Teague, he was saying, like, when he bumped LeBron that game, it was his last home game. So he was like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm just going to do it. You do certain things when you know your time is done.
He was saying like, I was so far gone that
Yep.
I don't care anymore at this
It
point.
didn't even matter.
Only in
Yeah.
sports, dude. Only in
Only
sports. Only in
because I
sports. You
think
can't
of,
get away with it anywhere else. I could put my 2 weeks on my 2 weeks notice in today, but like I still got to perform for the next 2 weeks, basically. Like no matter what,
everything.
like it doesn't matter if I'm going to bigger and better things. I still gotta perform. I can't go yell at like my coworkers. I can't talk shit about them openly. I can't do all that stuff.
Nope. Yeah. So no, that's
We're also
only in
probably not
sport.
gonna get that next job because they're gonna be like, no, he was a total douchebag the last 2 weeks and don't hire him.
Hello.
So then I'm like, oh, then I'm stuck, no job.
Hell yeah, exactly. But with him, Jair Alexander, someone else will be like, you know what? Come on over here. Same thing with, I think it's Miles Bridges. Is that the one on Charlotte?
Yeah, I mean,
All
yeah,
this, all the
all the
stuff
shit
that
that
he
happened.
did, and Phoenix is like, come on, I think we might want you after the season. Only in sports. You can do
Only for
whatever you want to do, and then other people know what you did. It's not one of those things of you're keeping on the low. Everyone knows what he did. And
it.
like, you know what? We didn't see that. Come on over here. So
We
that's
didn't
the
see
other thing. Just diving in really quickly into some finance things before we get into a lot of sports stuff. Number one, I always talk about this and I have to bring it up again this week, but ticket prices. So looking at kind of the ticket prices for the game, one, thank you to any of the buyers that ended up purchasing the tickets. Two, somebody ended up asking me, they were like, why aren't you going to go to the Ravens Chiefs game? Because that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah, making over like $1,000 a ticket is a once in a lifetime opportunity too. So I'm not turning this stuff down. But if you guys want to do that, go ahead. Then they said, hopefully you didn't sell it to any of the Taylor Swift fans. I got access in an interview. And I said, look, if they got the money for it, so be it. But that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to talk about Taylor Swift. Kansas City, Baltimore's ticket price is $566. That's on the low side. Detroit and San Francisco, the lowest price is $445. Crazy part is, and this should show you that in Detroit, yes, I'm calling you out Detroit, they were legit shooting those prices up because why in San Francisco, one of the most expensive markets there is the price only 445.
right.
But when it was Detroit Lions games, it was over 700 for the lowest ticket. It makes no sense. So that's kind of the first thing I wanted to touch on. The next thing is a lot of markets are falling, but it always ends up happening this time of the year. Pay attention when we get into the fall because that's election time. And we all know during election time, things will start to shoot up because no president wants to end up going into a re-election term and being like, well, the market fell when I was about to leave. You want to say, look what I did to the market. So it ends up shooting up. And the final thing I just want to end up touching on is anyone out there that does any type of crypto airdropping stuff, pay attention to that. Also, Magic Eden just came out with something today for Diamond Hand reward holders. So if you've been doing any NFT trading since 2021, you will start to get rewarded. And congrats to all the different ambassadors that are out there. Since I got that out the way, if you want to tune into the longer version, listen to that on Mondays. But first thing I want to bring up is Caitlin Clark. And for two different reasons. Okay, so for anyone that knows me, I do enjoy women's college basketball way more than WNBA. I just did it on a whim, maybe a month or two. I purchased one ticket to the Iowa against University of Maryland game. It was like $20, $30. I was like, cool. Then I got an email maybe a month later that said the game was sold out. Now I have a dilemma to make because the ticket was only $25. Now you can resell that joint for like $180. And I'm like, how much do I want to see Caitlin Clark now?
I mean, look, bro, keep going. Say what you're gonna say.
So the thing I wanted to bring up with you is I know you saw the video of Caitlin Clark and then I guess a social media person bumping into each other. What are your thoughts? Because depending on your angle, a person can think something different.
Yeah, I mean, it was a flop on Caitlin Clark. I mean,
Hmm.
it didn't look like, and they had every single angle from
I don't know
from
how
that.
they did that.
Everybody, it was crazy.
I don't know how they did that.
Um, it was like it looked like from all angles, neither one of them really saw each other coming until like the last possible second,
Hmm.
or like the last half a step maybe. But in the real time one from like up above, you see Caitlin Clark goes down, and you're like me. The first your first reaction is like the fan attacked the player.
Yeah, yep.
That's always your first reaction. But then you watch the replays, you slow it down, you go frame by frame. I mean, that was as dramatic as a flop as I've seen in a long time. She
Hmm.
bumped her, spinned her. It looked like Caitlin Clark extended her arms to like
Yes, yeah.
out of the way. As a reaction. Like again, it didn't look like she saw it coming. So it was probably like you like if you hit me, my arm's coming out. So
Hmm.
maybe that was just reaction, but it looked a lot worse when you slow it down. Like she was really trying to like forcefully get her off. And then Caitlin Clark spun around, fell to the ground, like someone like JFK, like just someone like shot
Yep.
her,
Yeah.
down, and you would have thought she was done.
Hmm.
So everyone rushed around her. Ohio State people, Iowa folks obviously got to her, teammates got to her, and like again, you would have thought the worst.
Hmm.
But all the other angles showed differently, and that showed that that was a flop. And I don't know who's at fault because again, they didn't really see each other coming. And it was
No,
like last, but like the other person involved just like bounced off of her and like kept going into the crowd.
she
And
did.
Caitlin
Yes,
Clark
she.
just flailing all over the place. So look, it doesn't tarnish her reputation as the best women's basketball player right now. Or some people say, the Pistons should draft her, which I wouldn't be upset about it at this point. But yeah, it doesn't tarnish her legacy or anything like that. But it always happens. Like bro, she was going like skyrocketing every time
Yeah,
she touched the floor. Like she had the buzzer beater against, I forget who it was, like 2 weeks ago. She had
the
40 in
legit one
the
or
game.
the fake one.
Yeah, she's the legit one, which is the same game, right?
Hmm.
Just the TV sound was just completely messed up by like a good second. So anyway, but she's like, going and going and going and going. Um, and then this happens, like a random thing that like won't ever happen again, probably. It always happens to the top player. Something like this happens, and then you think, "Oh my god, someone attacked Caitlin Clark," and you slow it down. And you're like, "Oh
Exactly.
wait, the fuck was that?" The big
Yeah,
flop.
she likes. You saw the spin and everything, but that's kind of the one thing I don't want
Spinneroonie.
to. Exactly.
Shout out Booker
So
T.
the next the next thing I want to end up going into is the NBA. Of course, we save everything NFL wise to the end. Couple of things have happened in the NBA. First one, and I texted you this earlier. I guess I have to knock on wood because Anthony Davis has been one of the most healthiest players as of recent. And
Mm-hmm.
this is coming from when Charles used to call him street clothes. And now my man is legit. He doesn't get hurt like that. And
Bro,
people don't notice it.
he's
Like
having
he's been
a
really
postseason.
healthy.
Yeah, he's played the
Yeah.
most games in the last like 300 and some odd days, whatever it is.
Yep.
Like he's played
Exactly.
him and Jason Tatum have played the most games, and
Yeah.
you also got to remember the incentive potentially for the NBA this year with those guys, some guys not being eligible for postseason awards. You have to play X. But what's the percentage? 70 or
It's
75?
like 65 or 70
Oh,
because that's the whole John
yeah,
Morant thing. He wouldn't have been
yeah.
eligible.
So, yeah, I think that's probably the incentive too to play games. And if you're healthy, like and unfortunately, the Lakers need it right now because of where they are and how inconsistent they've been. They're in the play-in race right now. I think an 8 or 9 seed, but it again, 44 games in the season. I'm not concerned about the Lakers. Lakers in 5, but AD's averaging 24.9, almost 25, 12 boards, 3 assists, 2.5 blocks. I think he's probably one of the lead leaders in that. 81% from the free throw line. He's only taken 1 3 a game, which is his
Hmm.
lowest since 1.13 game, which is his lowest since his 3rd year in the league.
That's
Attempting
crazy.
almost 17 shots a game, 55% from the field, 35 minutes a game. He's played 42 of the 44 games. Like he's having an all NBA season. He's had
Yeah,
monster games. He had a 40-20 game in the in-season tournament. That doesn't count to the regular season, but like 40-20, bro. Like that's
I
who he
know.
is.
Yeah.
It's I hate this conversation because it goes back to like I think he's probably like when everyone's healthy and playing at their best, I think he's like a top 2, 3 player in the league. And people are like, well,
Without question.
yeah, people are like, well, he's not that healthy. I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. Like when that's not what I'm saying. When guys are healthy and playing at their best, like he is right now, he's one of the top 5 players in the league right now. Like, and he's
Yeah.
all time. Same with LeBron, Giannis, KD, all those guys are like the same boat. When they're playing at their best, Kawhi same way. When they're playing at their best, like there's not many players better than those guys.
No.
And we're not gonna have time to do it, but we'll do it next week. The um Olympic player pool came out today.
Yes, that's what I was gonna. We could talk about that next week.
Oh, where? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't have any NFL games next week. So, well, technically we do, but we don't really have anything. Um, Other thing I wanted to bring up, and it's funny. So next week I'll be going to a lot of different basketball games. Friday I'm supposed to go to the Wizards Heat game. Then Saturday I'm going to the Iowa against University of Maryland game. Funny part is I brought up the Heat against the Wizards game because the Heat just traded for Terry Rozier in exchange for a 2027 first round pick and Kyle Lowry. If this does not tell you between this trade and we were talking about it, the Pascal Siakam trade of 3 first round picks, this shows you that they don't care about the draft and the
No,
college
they
players.
don't. They don't.
2027?
I
Come
mean
on
that
now.
pick's gonna belong to 3 different teams in the next 3 years.
Easily.
So like it
Yeah.
doesn't even matter. Like
Yeah. Unless you have like 4 or 5 picks like OKC normally does in the first round, it doesn't matter because you're gonna miss on them more likely
and
than not.
it's like it's a 1 in a million chance that it's one of those scenarios where like, remember where this pick came from? This came from that 3 year ago trade from Terry Rozier for Kyle Lowry in mid
Not gonna
January that
matter.
developed into this like top 5 pick, and we got this player, and like it's not gonna happen.
No. So Terry Rozier is going to the Heat. If you've listened to any of the OGs podcasts with Udonis Haslam and Mike Miller, you know that Terry Rozier fits the Heat culture. And it's one of those I can't really explain, but when you hear how they talk about the gladiator type shit that goes on during practices and stuff, you're like, all right, Terry Rozier can end up fitting there. But the other part is you're just bringing all these damn guards to the Charlotte Hornets. They're never going to be anything. There's another Carolina team we'll talk about later, but the Hornets are not going to be anything. I don't know when it'll happen, but it's not now. And the final thing that I wanted, well, 2 more. The other one is Adrian Griffin. So you could take this one on what's been going on and how Giannis was on the bench, like marking down stuff.
So I won't get into the details of what I saw that I sent you the second text, because like who knows that's even remotely close to being true. But it is making its rounds. I have seen it in multiple places now. Anyone can just obviously just go look to see what I'm talking about and just go search the whole situation if you're not familiar with it. But Adrian Griffin fired as a coach of the Bucks. They were 30 and 11, I think. 30 and 13. Which I saw people like, how can you fire someone? David Black got fired at 30 and 11 as well from the Cavs. So you can be fired at any point. Only in sports can you be doing really, really well at your job and do what you're supposed to be doing and like winning games as a coach and get fired. So that's one of the downsides of that. But then like everyone was kind of making jokes about it, and Giannis, the jokes were that Griffin was talking shit about Thanasis, and the way he's on the team, he's just like he's committing fraud because he's just stealing money from the league, and he's not really he shouldn't be on the team, but Giannis is there, so he's gonna be on the team. So there was that aspect of it, which I can imagine that some of that is true. Giannis is pretty true to his brothers, obviously. So I would imagine he would probably get upset about that. But it just seemed like I saw a bunch of I don't watch Bucks games when they're on TV. I'll probably watch them every now and then. But I saw some videos they seem like they were button heads on the bench. But the Bucks are having a great season, so it's that doesn't happen unless there's something more to it, and there's more going on, and there's a lot of frustration. They're not as good as people maybe thought they were going to be, which you and I talked about initially, that trade for for Damian Lillard, getting rid of Drew Holiday. That's a huge impact, man. He's a much overall better player than Dame, probably not, but defensively, yeah, leaps and bounds better than Damian Lillard. So there was that aspect of it. And what I texted you and what I saw, if that is true, which again, people can just go search on Twitter, that would that would probably constitute as a reason why he got fired, not because they suck, because they don't. It's not first of all, if he's getting fired at 30 and 11 and Monty Williams still has a job, I don't know what to tell you about how that works. They would owe Monty Williams a shit ton of money. They paid him $70 million to become a coach. But anyway, I digress from that. The Bucks situation, it's weird because they're doing really well and they're second in the East right now, and Giannis is having a really dope season. But there's definitely some player coach issues going on, and then maybe some off the court stuff, which we can talk about this at another time. I think outside of a couple teams, we should get rid of head coaches, just have a couple assistants, and just have player coaches. There's no Darvin Ham hasn't taken his hands out of his pocket in the first 44 games of the season.
Nope.
I forgot Jason Kidd was a coach of the Mavs. I haven't seen him done shit in 2 years, 3 years, whatever it's been. Spo, Coach Eric Spoelstra. I mean, yeah, the Heat probably wouldn't be as good without him, obviously. But there's only a couple of those coaches. I'd much rather just get rid of coaches and just have player coaches. Bill Russell did in the 60s and won a billion championships. So it can be done. And there's do those guys really need those coaches? Do you think LeBron?
You're getting your boss fired. Where else can you do that?
Do you think LeBron has listened to anything his coaches have said over the last 20 years? Maybe the first couple of seasons. Outside of that, no. Those like Luka, LeBron, Durant, Steph, all those guys, like they are coaches on the floor. Like so just get rid of the coaches and have player coaches. That's
So
my hot take.
yeah, that's my thing because for LeBron, he's played against Darvin Ham. You're playing
Yeah.
against these players
What
that were not
like
always starters.
the other thing is what does Darvin Ham know that LeBron doesn't know about basketball?
Exactly.
Nothing. The same thing with
Exactly.
like Steph, like Durant, all those guys. What did their coaches know? Like there was on the OG's podcast, Billy Donovan was on, who coached Mike Miller and Udonis Haslem at Florida,
Mm-hmm.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he was on, and they asked like, what was like the biggest difference going from college to the pros? And he's like, I had to listen to like guys like Durant and Westbrook, because that's where he went, was the Thunder. He's like, I had to listen to those guys because I knew nothing about like the game of basketball like they do. Bro, you just outed every coach that's ever coached in the history of sports.
He
Like
did.
you think Bill Belichick knew more about being quarterback than Tom Brady? Like these coaches are legendary coaches. Like you think it's just like it's great. What does Darvin Ham know about basketball that LeBron doesn't know? Like, and every team has that guy outside maybe like the Pistons and the Bobcats, whatever. But I mean the Bobcats, that's how bad they are. I was
Yeah,
referring to
no,
the
the
Bobcats, the
Hornets.
Hornets. But like that's my hot take. Just get rid of the coaches. You don't really. It's a waste of money too. Only in
Yeah,
sports.
only in sports. Because I'm like, the example you just gave, Darvin Ham becoming LeBron's boss, is similar to like somebody that was under you or at a lower level than you that becomes your manager. And then you have to listen to them
Yeah,
and what they
yeah.
say.
Only in sports.
So the other thing, speaking of Darvin Ham, I'll segue to a player on the team. D'Angelo Russell, of course, they're making a lot about was he crying? Was he not? Is he going to get traded? All this, that, and the other. But the names that you see that are linked, for starters, a lot of those are just words that are out there that either agents spark out to see if they can end up bringing up more awareness or a more of a market for their players. Like DeJounte Murray's one, Trae Young is one, Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's not going to LA. I can assure you of that. Trae Young is not going to LA. I can assure you of that.
No.
At the rate Pascal Siakam got 3 first-round picks, you're going to need damn near 5 to 10
Yeah.
for Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young. So
And
you're better off with
trading everybody but LeBron and AD.
exactly. So you're in the same situation you just tried to get yourself out of. With you traded all these picks away, traded all your players. Who do you have?
Dude, the Lakers are fine. Like
Yeah.
they have LeBron and AD. Like it's like they're good, dude. Like they're like the Lakers are gonna be fine. They have
Mm-hmm.
they just haven't been healthy all season, and teams go through. Look at the Suns. They even had Bradley Beal for like the entire season, and now they got him back. And you see what they can do. Like they're gonna be fine. It's 44 games in the season of an 82 game schedule. We're good. We're
Yeah.
good. We're good.
Yeah. Final
Lakers are fine.
NBA final NBA thing that I want to bring up is Tristan Thompson is suspended for 25 games. That's the most random thing I would have ever thought to
And we
hear.
didn't need to know that, you know.
No.
Like,
Also, he's playing the Udonis Haslem like Andre Iguodala role. Why are
yeah,
you doing anything? You have nothing
this is
to do
definitely one of those moments where you're like, oh, he's still
in
in
the
the league.
league. Yeah.
Okay, cool. He's
25 games.
also again only in sports. Can you literally do? Udonis Haslam played like 10 minutes in the last 3 seasons. It was getting like $6 million a year. Only in
Mhm.
sports can you sit at the end of the bench, do jack shit,
Yeah.
get all the money, and like look at your career numbers, dude. Like 10, like bro, come on. And this man's
Exactly.
getting his jersey retired.
Exactly.
Come on.
That's what I'm saying. So now I want to go to something else only in sports. We're going to go to the NFL before we do the picks. I want to go over the coaches and then also Von Miller. So I know you heard the stats. Von Miller had 0 sacks and got paid $15 million. That's essentially you having a job, you telling them, all right, I'm going to give effort, but I don't know if I'm going to secure anything.
It's a lifetime
But
contract. Just basically just like, all right, like maybe like if you get 1 sack for us and it's in the playoffs or it's like to win the game, sure, that's fine.
yes, that much money to not do any of that,
Oh God.
to not get a sack. So you're telling me he's going to come back next year? No, there's no need to have him at that point. Vaughn's run his time too. Of course, he had his stuff that went on, but that's one thing. There's a lot of coaching stuff that came up. The one I really care about is Dan Morgan is actually now the GM of the Panthers. What pisses me off about this is teams that suck will continue to suck, and the teams that are good will continue to be good because why are you going to hire a person from inside the organization for an organization that is not good. So what is he going to help the organization do better that they have already not done good?
Yeah, it's like the Lakers bringing in Darvin Ham. Like, what element is he gonna bring? What's
Yes.
he gonna do?
Yeah. So that was one thing. The other thing is pretty sure his name was Tom Pelesco is now going to be the Raiders GM, which segues into Antonio Pierce becoming the head coach, which was a solid hire. And it just shows you he was a player's coach too, because Max Crosby was like, if y'all don't hire him,
I'm
I'm
gone.
out. Yeah, I'm gone. Yeah. And he would find a way to make sure he was out of there. But Brian Callahan is now the Titans head coach. They were like, what did he really do for the Bengals? Because Zach Taylor really ran that organization. It's just going to be a clean house. I can see probably Derrick Henry not being there next year. Potentially, of course, he already said his goodbyes. Then do you think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be there next year? Who knows? Then going into another one, which I don't think this makes a difference in the world, but Ryan Nielsen is now the defensive coordinator for the Jaguars. For starters, the Jaguars, you will never be good in my book ever again. But two, I don't think this really matters. Like, it really doesn't matter. The Texans now run that division. So
Yes,
I'm
right.
sorry. Also, you guys need to stop sending me all these damn emails about this type of shit because I don't care about your team anymore. But that's all the different things that have happened. I'm pretty sure after this week, we'll probably hear one or two more things. But then after the Super Bowl is when we'll hear about all the injuries that have happened this season, all the different coaching stuff that has happened. And maybe another day in life, we will get into the Jay Gruden and RG3 stuff
Yes,
because that was some stuff. And
that was
then Will
gold.
Compton saying, let me go jump in there too.
Yeah,
That's crazy. But final part, then we'll get into the picks. I don't know if you've watched Julian Edelman's podcast that he has.
it's too
So
many.
it's so many of them. That's why I love the clips that they put out because Julian Edelman had Danny Amendola on it. For starters, Danny Amendola is the most regular person you will ever meet. Like he just does
It's
his
not.
job.
It's not like a football name. So like you
No,
wouldn't assume that he's like a football guy.
no, but they were talking about different play. They remember all the plays that
Everything,
they did
everything,
from the Super Bowl, the
everything,
out routes when they're supposed to make a cut, when they fell,
everything.
and they know each other's play too.
That's all they did for fucking 15 years.
Yes. Like for you to say, that's almost like us being at work and then saying, do you remember back in 2016 when we were in the back of the warehouse and we climbed up the ladder and then you were supposed to get the box on the left, but you got the box on the right? That's legit what Julian Edelman and Damian Mendola did when they said, do you remember when you ran your route and then you end up slipping and falling, then you got back up and then you caught it? And Damian Mendola was like, I really almost thought I dropped that. And then also that's when Brady ended up telling me we got it. And I'm like, you remember all of this. Then when
Everything.
the sack happened, you didn't know if that was really going to happen. Then they asked each other's thoughts when it was 28-3 going into half. And Julian Manoa was like, we weren't really worried. And I'm just like, if you were not worried, that is terrible. For the other team, like that means they didn't care.
No,
So
didn't give a
that's the
shit. They
big
knew they were
thing.
gonna win.
There's so many different podcasts that are out there. Mad props to all the players that are doing this because I love hearing the stories. And then the other thing that I love hearing, I don't know if you listen to the CW network. I guess they have that Inside the NFL when they talk about they have the voice audio of the players on the field.
Yes,
Love that type of stuff.
yes,
But
yeah.
they edit it because I promise you they're not saying everything Roquan
No,
Smith or
no,
Patrick
God
Queen
no.
is saying.
Jesus, Jesus. I saw a tweet that like every linebacker is crazy, like as a borderline crazy person. And they went going through like Lawrence Timmons, Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, all these guys. Like it's like, yeah, you gotta be a completely crazy person to
Yes,
want to play that position
your job is to get paid to hit somebody
as hard as you possibly can.
as hard as you possibly can. There's other positions where that's not your job. That's the only specific position where your job is to hit the other person
Mhm.
as hard as you can. The D line, yes, but you're trying to just get to the quarterback.
Yeah,
Safeties, cornerbacks, you're trying to stop the ball.
linebacker.
Nowhere else
Boom.
are you trying to just hit the other person as hard as you can. So going into the games for this week, of course, it is going to be the Baltimore Ravens against the Kansas City Chiefs. And then on the other side, we have Detroit Lions against the 49ers. The Ravens Chiefs game is at 3 p.m. on CBS. Detroit Lions against the 49ers game is at 6:30 p.m. on Fox. Both games are on Sunday. There are no Peacock games. There are no Amazon Prime games. This is straight TV games, so anybody can watch this. But who you got in the Chiefs and Ravens game, and who do you think is going to be an X factor in the game?
Okay, I got the Chiefs. If
Okay.
if anyone like, and I who are you picking?
You should know how I always think.
Are
There's
you,
only one.
are you picking the Ravens?
No, I got to pick the Chiefs, remember?
Okay, okay. So like if anyone outside the city of Baltimore is picking the Ravens, then that just tells me you haven't watched football over the last 5 seasons. Because
Hmm.
like also I was getting bombarded with text and tweets about my hatred for Lamar Jackson, which I don't hate Lamar Jackson. I've acknowledged, and you can watch the tape on episodes that we've done multiple times. I've acknowledged how great he is. I've acknowledged that he's an elite quarterback. He's a top 5 player in the league. When he's healthy, closer to 1 than 5, right? He's an MVP. He's what Michael Vick, what we all want Michael Vick to be. And that's why it's great. And he's can't game plan for him. Very unique player. But I can also acknowledge all that and still say that he's dog shit in the playoffs. Which,
Hmm.
look, one game isn't going to erase the previous things. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, you had a great game against the Texans. Dope game. Look, that team looks unbeatable, to be honest with you. My cousin was at the game and he said it looks like the best football team he's seen in a very long time. So, but who am I going to pick over the Ravens to do this? The Chiefs.
The
Why?
team that's
They have
always
Patrick
done it.
Mahomes. They
Yep.
have the best quarterback in the league. They've done it twice. They've been to 3 Super Bowls. It's 6 straight conference title games. That is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
people, they're losing Tyreek Hill. What are they going to do? That doesn't matter. They have Patrick Mahomes. That doesn't. None of that matters. Kelsey, like he's been down sometimes, but they have Patrick Mahomes. They have Andy Reid. Like until proven otherwise, and this is like a huge game. Until proven otherwise, I'm not picking against the Chiefs. Like even like Leighton Brady's career. Until proven otherwise, I do the same thing with like the Lakers and LeBron. It doesn't matter, dude. I've seen them do it multiple times. LeBron took them to the conference finals last year. Like
Hmm.
it's crazy that people are. I get why they're picking the Ravens because they've been probably the best team all season. They look very unbeatable, and they have Lamar Jackson. Defense is unbelievable. They have the best kicker in the league. They have all the like the pieces. They have coaching. They have all the pieces. It's at home. I get it, but like I don't get it because like Patrick Mahomes. If there's anyone that can go in there, if it was the Bills, I probably would pick the Ravens. But it's the Chiefs, and they've been doing it for. They did it for 6 straight years. So like I'm
Hmm.
not like, until proven otherwise, not picking against them. So unfortunately, as well, I will be at the airport in Fort Lauderdale coming home on Sunday during that game, which
Dang.
sucks. Sucks. I hate it,
Dang.
but I will obviously find a way to watch the entire game. Picking the Ravens or picking the Chiefs in that game, I'm going to say 27-23.
Okay.
And I'm going to pick the Lions against the Niners.
Wow.
I'm going to go 31-26. I think
Wow.
Jared Goff does it in the end, and it's not even an upset. That's not even an upset. It should be an upset, right? I know the Niners are good, but
No.
like the Lions are also really good. So picking the Lions in that one. So Lions and the Chiefs in the not scripted NFL Super Bowl.
Yeah, and that's kind of another big thing. The first thing I want to bring up in terms of the Ravens Chiefs game, the Ravens did not have a sack last game. And that's a huge thing because you
Oh, they didn't?
cannot go, no, they did not. I was just reviewing all of this stuff
Wow, that's
and
surprising because
there were
Stroud was
no
getting caught a few
turnovers.
times.
Yeah, it was just they had 3 tackles for loss. 2 of them were by I think Patrick Roquan Smith.
Hmm.
But yeah, there were no sacks.
Wow.
They had 4 pass deflections and 5 quarterback hits, but they didn't sack him. You cannot give up and do 0 sacks again to the Chiefs. You have to get to Patrick Mahomes for you to have a chance. The other thing is you have to replicate what you just did in the running game. For you to have over 200 plus rushing yards, you have to do that. And what I was just saying earlier, why does nobody know how to guard Travis Kelce? He had 2 touchdowns against the Bills. All you have to do, I would rather you have anyone else beat you than Travis Kelce because no one else can prove it to you. Rasheed Rice is coming along, but one of your different cornerbacks should be able to do something. Kyle Hamilton or someone focus on Travis Kelce and then Patrick Mahomes, and everyone else should be second.
I think that's what's gonna happen. I think Kyle Hamilton, he's got the height, he's physical. One of those linebackers is gonna rough him up when he gets off the line. I am I worried about them not using Travis Kelsey the right way? No, it's gonna take a couple drives. Andy Reid will settle in and they'll be fine. Like, even if it's short, intermediate passes, fine. Don't worry about going deep. Just make it break down the game, make it methodical, and move down the field, and get Isaiah Pacheco going, who I probably will be an X factor, right?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, but then like you gotta look at the Chiefs defense. Chris Jones is gonna have a Hall of Fame day up front,
Yes.
and someone's gonna have to spy Lamar, which is not gonna be easy because that'll leave the receivers open, and we can go down the X's and O's route, but I think it's gonna be a great game. Which I just hate that I have to be at the airport for this. Oh God.
I know. I made sure I cleared everything out of my schedule for this one game.
I didn't even think about it. Honestly, like wasn't even concerned about it. And I was like, I asked my
but
wife.
they made this the early game.
I'm guessing because it's in San Fran. And I think it's already determined to be the time slots. Which is annoying. But I asked my wife, I was like, can I stay or come home early that day? Can I switch my flight and like work around that 3 o'clock? Because like I'll see the first beginning part of the game, but then like I'm gonna be boarding the flight and taking off and like being like that weird no Wi-Fi zone for like the last probably like 5 minutes, 6 minutes of the game potentially. And like if it's a great game,
I know that I know. That's really how it is. Other one, Lions 49ers. For my personal investments, I would say the Lions, but I think that the 49ers are going to find some way to squeak it out. This is probably one of their chances to do it because I know the NFC is probably going to get better. Who really knows? But 49ers should be able to do it. Another stat I was looking up, yeah, should. All they need to focus in on. So the 49ers didn't have a great game at all against the Packers. Something that they're going to need to focus in on. The Lions only really passed to 2 players, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta. If you can find a way to stop those two, you have a good chance. But also with that, the running game, last week the Packers rushed for over 100 yards. And that was a big reason why they almost won the game. If you can do that with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, you do have a chance. The weather should be fine. Yeah, you might have some rain, but so what? That's okay. So I'm going with the 49ers in that one. What do you have for everyone?
Shout out to 2 NFL players. Shout out to JJ Watt for the inspiration for me buying the shirt. Okay. I saw him on the Pat McAfee show, and anyone who knows anything about me, or B, anything about good movies, you recognize the shirt, the TC Williams Titans. Remember the Titans? I saw him wearing it on the McAfee show, ordered it on the spot. It was $20 on Amazon. Shout out. The other shout out is to Jason Kelsey, who was having the time of his life, right? And McAfee picked up on this as well as I did when I first saw it. Did you see all of it, like every angle, like from like right in front of it when he jumped out? That was like a good like 5 feet maybe, give or take. Yes. And he's 6'2", 6'3", like 285, 290, full of beers, just not giving a fuck. And my man just pulls himself, like leaps up like that, jumped out like it was nothing, and then just jumped back up like a damn grizzly bear. And just like, no problem. Sweats, Tim's, not even laced up Tim's, and full of beer, and just pulled himself up like that. So McAfee was like, not every NFL athlete can do that.
No.
And is 6'2", 6'3", 290, and just an animal. Again, probably BAC is probably like 3 times the legal limit. No laced up Tim, sweats on, shirtless. Yeah, shout out to Jason Kelsey, dude. It's cool when he does it, but when I do shit at Penn State games and act out like that,
it's different.
It's different. Only in sports, dude. Only in sports.
Only in sports. My only thing for everyone is we might have a big announcement next week. Also, hopefully Kodak Black is at the game so he can just rub it in Taylor Swift's face. Until next time, we out.
Deuces.